Yeah, we managed to move things around inside the shop and got our Pinto project inside. It got a little chilly outside. And for you guys that watch our other project, we've got our MG project over there. Not a lot of room to crawl around, but that's okay. We can get some little things done. One of the things we're going to do is get rid of this homemade funky throttle linkage that's trying to saw its way through the housing. And the other thing we've got to do is try to figure out why this carburetor won't keep gas in it. And looking around here, and the OG has taken all of the stuff off the side of this carburetor, the vacuum secondary diaphragm and the choke mechanism is all gone. I have to really get in there and see if he's plugged up the screw hole for the vacuum secondaries or not. And you know, what he's done is put a little screw in the arm, the throttle arm on the other side of the carburetor to mechanically open the secondaries. And yeah, that works sometimes. Sometimes it causes a big throttle lag, and sometimes it can jam the throttle open. So we're going to have a good look at that. The other thing that I see there, we've got this giant aluminum carb spacer underneath the carburetor, and we're going to replace that with a 1/4 inch phenolic spacer. That'll work a lot better, and that'll do two things. That'll help keep the heat away from the carburetor, but also drop that carburetor down inside the engine compartment a little better. When we got the carb off, here's an old trick. If you know, you know. But if you don't know, when you're working on these carburetors, you know, if you set them on a table, it's kind of hard to open the butterflies. So you just take yourself a couple of bolts, put a nut on either side, run them up through there and make 4 feet. The carburetor then's raised up off the surface, and you can get it up high enough so that you can work your throttle linkage, and the butterflies will open and close, and that'll just help you work on your carburetor. Well, we had this carburetor in storage. Looks like it's been in storage. Actually, we've been through this carburetor not too long ago. I had it, a couple years probably. Had it on an engine, and we put new needle valves in it, new gaskets everywhere and everything, new accelerator pump. But this is the arm that I was talking about, where the OG on the other carburetor put a screw in here, and this arm normally keeps the secondaries closed when you're off the throttle, and then as you open the throttle, you see that arm pulls away, and the diaphragm on the other side can open the secondary. So what these garage geniuses do, they just put a screw in here somewhere, depending on where they want the secondaries to open. And the theory is that when that rod comes down there, it pulls that secondary butterfly open. And that's, yeah, you can do that. It's been done a lot. Is the carburetor designed to work that way? No. Most carburetors that have mechanical secondaries have an extra accelerator pump on the back side to take away the stumble when that second set of butterflies open. So what I'm thinking about doing is putting this carburetor on there and see if I can get the thing to run with this carburetor. And while I'm trying to figure out the leaks, the big problem I have with that is, of course, nothing is ever the same. That's like sneakers. You never buy the same pair twice. So this one has a little bit different system for feeding the carb. It's got this old style fuel line, and you know, we're okay there. We could swap over that fuel line and into these fittings. But the problem we have here is that there's no threads in here to put like we have over there to feed the carburetor. So the carburetor feeds out here. So we're gonna have to wade through that and see how to do that without reinventing the wheel. It'd be nice if you could just take one off and put one on. The easy solution is to buy a new bowl here that has the threads here, and I'd rather not have to do that, but we might have to do that. The other thing we got to work on, and you get looking around and you see all these things, is this deal here where the OG has mounted this electric fan, a pusher, in front of the radiator, and the brackets that he's made, that's like an inch wide, top to bottom on the radiator, same thing on the other side, and that's not doing anything except blocking airflow through the radiator. So, you know, there got to be a better way. Of course, these fans, the way most people mount them, is they put a tie through the radiator core and then just tie wrap it to the radiator. Even, you know, having this bracket, there's no excuse to have this 1 inch wide surface here. It doesn't do anything to help support that fan. So, and there's not a lot of load on that fan. So we've either got to take this out of here and cut this away, maybe just leave a little bit of the return there, but cut away 95% of it, or at a very minimum drill a bunch of holes down through there to let the airflow. I'd have to do the measurement, but at an inch wide and however tall that radiator surface is, that's a lot of square inches of surface that's being blocked by two stupid looking brackets. I don't know how else to put it. So that's a project that we can get done here in the shop while we're waiting for better weather. Now we're back to work on our Pinto project, and we got a box of goodies from the Racing Emporium. We'll get her open and see what's in there. Oh, how about that, huh? So most of this stuff is got a catalog and a bill and a decal and some airbags. Most of this stuff is Holley carburetor stuff, since we've got to fix this Holley carburetor that was on here. So let's see. We got a accelerator pump, and we got some bowl gaskets, and we got some little nylon seals where the fittings screw into the fuel bowls. I had some metal shim ones and they were leaking, so we got a few of those. We got some end bowl bolts and gaskets. Got the hex ones instead of the screwdriver ones. A couple of sets of those. And we got a new housing for the accelerator pump, since the one that was on there had these countersunk holes drilled into it and funny screws. So we got a new one of those, and then this should be, one can only hope. Now we're gonna need our razoo blade. Normally you have to have a big knife to open packages on YouTube, but our big knife is elsewhere. So here we go. One-handed. I don't know how these people do it. Oh, comes with screws and gaskets. What a deal. We got extras. See what else it comes with. This should be the new primary fuel bowl. And there you have it. And we needed one that was treaded on both sides. And that's what that is. Now what I'm going to have to do is figure out what we do with the exhilarator pump, since the old one has this little BB in here and then a little metal tab that's crimped over. We don't have that with the new one, so maybe there are directions and parts and pieces for that. We'll find out. So we're going to have to transfer over the float mechanism and the needle and seat. And I don't know what else, but our other one was leaking fuel across here. I don't know if it got warped or what, so I bought this new one, and we'll get it on there and see if we can get this carburetor to quit leaking fuel. All right, so the first thing we did is bolted our new accelerator pump cover and diaphragm in there. There's a spring goes under that. And what we've discovered in the kit is a little umbrella looking thing, this orange gizmo, that takes the place of the little BB. One thing you need to do is, if you're doing this, is start all those screws in the holes first before you try to bolt that cover on, because everything is new. So we tried to put our plug here in the side, and it didn't really want to thread too well, so we've got to work on that. The other thing down in here is I see it doesn't look, I'll have to look a little closer, doesn't look like there's any threads in there to hold the float in, so maybe in our box of whatnot here, there's some screws, self-tappers or something that hold that in. We'll have to have a look at that. But you know, this is the thing, you can find these Holley carburetors at swap meets, and you can sometimes get a deal on them. But I got to tell you, this box of parts, miscellaneous stuff we got here, was $180. So, you know, if you're going to buy your $200 used carburetor at the swap meet that you don't know anything about, and get home and find out it needs a fuel bowl or it needs this, that, and the other thing, and you got to spend another $150, $200 on it, maybe you should have just bought a new one. You know, sometimes you get lucky. You know, you find one at the swap meet for $50, take it home, clean it out, and put some new gaskets and stuff in it, and it's good to go. But yeah, buyer beware, like everything. But we'll see if we can't save this one. We got this old black runner here. I would have gotten this bowl in black, but just finding one that was threaded on both sides was a miracle. So we quit while we were ahead. We can always paint it if we want. I think that's what the guy did to the other one. And we did get the black cover, at least for the for the bowl. So it'll be all right, as long as it works. All right, so we got our float hung in there. There were some threads down in there. The screws were pretty long. And I got to say, this new bowl, all of the threaded holes are kind of wonky. I don't know how else to describe it, but they're not good and clean. I still haven't been able to get the sight plug to screw in normally. That shouldn't be that hard to put in, so I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. But so far we're okay. We got the needle and seat out, so we'll put it back in. Hopefully we'll be good. So I just dropped this little bugger on the floor. I see that the gasket is missing, but I'd like to know which law of physics, I didn't do well in that class, is it that says that when that thing falls on the floor, it doesn't just stop where it landed, it rolls all the way across the shop? I don't understand that. When that guy, what was his name, Galileo or Nostradamus or whoever it was, dropped the apple out of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, did it roll across the courtyard or did it stop right where it landed? God, that's so frustrating when you drop stuff on the floor and it runs off across the shop. Oh well, I digress. So, we got our plug in there now. I had to take and run a tap through that hole. Shouldn't have to do that really, but I don't know if the Chinaman tapped that metric or what, but I ran, yeah, we'll focus on it somewhere. 5/16 fine thread tap through there because that is what size the old one was. And now the little plug screws right in there. You know, that's important because in order to set the float level while the car's running, you have to take that little plug out of there and set your float level so that the fluid, the fuel, is just below the edge of that hole. And then you have to put the little plug back in. So if it's really tricky to get in there, you end up making a mess or lose the plug. Now, some of the modern Holley carburetors don't have that plug in there anymore. They have a sight hole there, a little glass or whatever they have in there, and you just look in there. You don't have to take anything out. But these old ones, that's the way you do it. So anyway, we ran the tap in there, fixed it, good as new. I think I got a new gasket in the kit, so we'll put that on there. And we've got our float level set. We put our needle valve back in, so our float level is set pretty doggone close, and we might be good to go.